He's like, yeah, I saw him at the party, at the kid party. I was there. Ah, totally. Ah, make America great. Dark MAGA.
Adriana, good morning. We're still working our way through the millions of pages that were released more than 40 days after the legal deadline. The agency insists its work is done, but that's only fueled more controversy. The millions of pages of Jeffrey Epstein materials show the prominent men who were once in the disgraced sex offender circle, including these photos of former Prince Andrew on all fours over an unidentified woman on the floor. Queen Elizabeth's son has denied all wrongdoing, but British Prime Minister...
It's unbelievable that like there's this international pedophilic cabal of financial elite and incredibly unimaginably wealthy, unimaginably powerful individuals, and every single right winger, every single like conspiracy right winger is basically going along with like Pizzagate was real. Remember Hillary Clinton? And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? I mean, yeah, sure, Hillary Clinton, absolutely, but also lock in, motherfucker. Ain't nobody out here is defending Hillary Clinton, but you're the one who's like only hyper-focusing on Hillary Clinton in an effort not to talk about, you know, Donald Trump. Let's be real. I've spent some time going through his emails. I always thought the elite are racist, but mostly keep it to themselves. He's so disgustingly Jewish supremacist that it broke my brain. He's doing race science shit with Chomsky. He refers to non-Jewish as cattle, anti-Semitism fuel. Yeah, I need people to understand something. When I talk about Judaism or it being separate from like Zionism and shit like that, I don't mean that there are no Jews that believe Judaism and Zionism is married to one another. Of course, there are plenty of Jews that feel that way. And the same thing goes for Jewish supremacy, right? Just like there are white nationalists and white supremacists, there are Jewish supremacists as well. This is not like weird or unique. The only thing that's unique about Jewish supremacy in general is that it's not an equivalent to like, you know, black people, like black liberationary movements and things of that nature, because black people have been historically marginalized. And while Jews have been historically marginalized, Jews in contemporary society are not systematically marginalized at all. They can be victim to hate crimes, but that doesn't mean that they can actually be, that they're like systematically cast out from polite society or from, you know, levers of power in the way that black and brown people are.
Listen, there's a lot we're going to get to, but we have to start with probably the craziest revelation here, which is Jeffrey Epstein emailing himself about Bill Gates. Now, if you don't know, Bill Gates and Epstein had a relationship post 2008. That's a big year. You're going to hear a lot today because 2008 was the time that Epstein pled guilty for soliciting of somebody under the age of 18. He was a predator at this point. Everybody knew it. Now, eventually, Bill Gates would get divorced when all of this came out. Melinda Gates said it was part of the direct cause for the divorce. She said she met Epstein and said he was evil.
He was evil personified.
But this relationship with Epstein has been a huge problem for him. And Epstein appears to have known that because in 2013, Bill Gates appears to be distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein seems to have a problem with that. He says, I assume the dedication to our relation went both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up about his relationship with Bill Gates. And this is where the blackmail starts. And it comes in the form of like, if I were you, I would do X if I were the type of guy that you should be. He says, in that regard, I suggest I buy you the house that you had your heart set on. In addition to 5 years of severance, we'll buy you out of the investment contract we agreed upon, 30 to 40% of an $100 million partnership for $30 million in today's terms. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. Then he lays out what he has on Bill Gates, or what he says he has. Quote, to add insult to injury, you subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implore me to delete the emails I had regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you could surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your I mean, this is insane. It's completely insane. It's like basically laying out in text form, I would give me millions of dollars, and I can't believe you're asking me to delete the message where you were going to give STD medication to your wife without her knowledge. I mean, but now that coming out after Epstein's death, this looks really bad for Gates, obviously, because
Bill Gates goes to Epstein Island and does allegedly what we all expect him to do at Epstein Island, gets an STD, finds out that he has an STD far too late, and may have given said STD to his wife. His wife doesn't know, obviously, that, you know, he's cheating on her with sex trafficked possible minors. So he reaches back out to Jeffrey Epstein to be like, hey, do you know what kind of like antibiotics that I can secretly dose my wife with so she doesn't find out that I cheated on her? That's the story here. These people are such freaks, brother. I mean, I've hated Bill Gates since COVID for going to AstraZeneca and making sure that like the global south did not get those patents for free. He's been a real piece of shit for a million different reasons. So this just confirms my suspicions. I mean, it's not even a suspicion, because what he did then was objectively evil, because he was worried about what that could do to IP in general. Yeah, big finance guy, Jeffrey Epstein, by the way. Isn't it crazy how fucking hard every single normalizer fell in their face on this issue? Like, whether it be ContraPoints or Ezra Klein or all these people that are like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, Jeffrey Epstein was just like, he was ferocious. He had a ferocious appetite. Just him, though. All these other billionaires that he was linked up with had nothing to do with the sex trafficking. I promise. It's very interesting because these guys, like, they look at a situation like this, and in their minds, this has to make sense. They cannot live in a world where like these billionaires are evil, that the system is designed this way, right? Of course, these guys will never be punished for these bad takes because their job is to deliver takes like this.
You start this episode where I am on the Epstein story. If you force me to give you my best guess, given what we know, I think this guy had a lot of very powerful friends. I think this guy was a predator and a pedophile on an extraordinary scale. And I think those sides of his life were mostly separate. I don't think there is a list of bold-faced names somewhere.
Ain't nobody was forcing you at all. I say this, and I like Ezra a lot more than I like some of these other centrist weirdos. But one must examine the tendency to immediately think, no, this is conspiracy, this is crazy. These guys that are directly tied to people that, you know, finance me and stuff, like, they can't be evil. Because if I'm being as charitable as physically possible here to Ezra Klein, which many of you will get mad at me for doing, I think that's the point. He's like, well, listen, I think personally that these guys that fund the Abundist movement, they can't be all that bad. After all, they pay me. And it seems like a big chunk of them are directly affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein, as were many financial elite. So I can't believe personally that these guys are bad. Wait, since when do you like him? I just think that despite the fact that he's wrong all the time in spectacular ways and in ways I talk about all the time, he's just too polite for me to hate him too much. Because like, all these other political operatives are so goddamn vicious and so monstrous, not just to me, but just in general, that his kind liberal shtick works on me. I'll admit it. You know, it doesn't work on anybody else, but it works on me. So I'm telling you why. I know why. That's why I maintain charitability.
This is exactly what we suspected the whole time. Epstein was providing services to rich people and expecting payment via blackmail. Now you might say, and it's true, that we don't know that Epstein ultimately sent that version of an email to Gates. All we know is he sent that to himself. He may have planned the blackmail and just been drafting something. But what we do know are two things. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Gates was threatened by Epstein over an affair. We also know that after this blackmail email Jeffrey sent to himself was written, eventually Gates sent a $2 million donation to MIT directed by Jeffrey Epstein, which is a bit weird if you had distanced yourself from the guy and y'all had this big falling out. Now, again, do we know for sure that Bill Gates...
What's been shocking to me is how Nick Fuentes has reacted to this, I will admit, because like, in a way, he's almost exactly like Alex Jones, right? Like Alex Jones says, like, there's a pedophilic cabal of libtards that are like dominating society and doing crazy sex rituals. Turns out it's real, but Alex Jones can't say anything about it because all of his buddies were doing the sex rituals, right?
You see, for over 120 plus years in Northern California, in Sonoma County, on a 2,700-acre secluded redwood grove, leaders from around the world, prime ministers, chancellors, presidents, governors, again, the heads of industry, banking, academia, the media, Hollywood, only a select few, a little over 2,000 people, travel there to engage in bizarre, ancient Canaanite, Luciferian, Babylon mystery religion ceremonies.
And the same thing almost goes for Nick Fuentes as well. Like, for Nick Fuentes, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to max out on anti-Semitism, right? Like, Jewish guy who like talks about, you know, Goyim is a horrifying international sex criminal pedophile that was clearly working with both the CIA and also Mossad, and was also securing contracts for the state of Israel. And what does Nick Fuentes doing? Selling Jeffrey Epstein merch and talking about how the only problem with Jeffrey Epstein is that he's Jewish and not that he was like doing blackmail for Israel or sex trafficking minors necessarily, as though if a Jeffrey Epstein was Christian, then he'd be fine.
We've been lied to also by another richest guy on the planet. Geez, it's a shock why they don't want to put this out. Elon Musk, who has been saying for years that it is a lie that he went to Epstein's island. In fact, he says he refused to go. From Elon, he says, Epstein tried to get me to go to his island. I refused. He says, anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete
Okay, I'll be honest. Maybe Elon was saying like, oh, Epstein tried to make me go to the island by talking about how there's like young girls there. And it was really enticing for him. Because it doesn't, when I look at those emails, it doesn't feel like Epstein is trying to get him to come that hard. But he is mentioning that there's like young girls that are at the island. So I guess maybe if you're a pedophile, that's like super enticing as an offer.
Elon Musk planned trip to Epstein's private island. And he says, this is false. But of course, we start to dig through the files and we can see on Epstein's calendar that Elon Musk is booked in December 6th of 2014. But maybe you don't believe that. That's just the word of Jeffrey Epstein. But maybe you'll believe the word of Elon Musk, who was caught emailing Jeffrey Epstein to go to his island post the guilty plea. Elon Musk writes, we'll be in BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Good time to visit. Jeffrey Epstein says, I will send a heli for you. Later, Elon Musk writes to Epstein, probably just to Lula and me, his ex-wife, what day night would be the wildest party on your island? The world's richest man is asking the most pedophile man for the wildest party on his island. And then it gets more explicit. In 2012, remember, this is a guy who said, I refused it. I could never do that, right? It's false. But here in 2012, he says, do you have any parties planned?
Pedocon is a theory, like gravity is a theory, boys. You already know. I mean, these guys are all bipartisan. There's no Democrat, there's no Republican. They just run the country. They run the planet. Also, another judge me by my enemies moment, by the way. As you guys know, Elon Musk is an op. But I guess I bring some vibes to the table that like a lot of pedophiles hate.
These guys are lying to us and people are swallowing it still, thinking that Elon Musk had nothing to do with this guy. So again, that's 2012. That's 2014. But guess what? There's another time in 2013. I mean, this seems like a yearly thing with the boys. Here, once again, Elon Musk writes, we'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Again, is there a good time to visit? Jeffrey Epstein, any day, 1st to the 8th. Play it by ear if you want. Always space for you. They then plan some more, and you might think, well, if Elon ever told the truth, this is when he has to reject, right? Because he said, I refused. But actually, it appears to be one of those cases where, like, your friend says, like, oh, bro, I dumped her. And actually, it was the other way. Yeah, it turns out Elon didn't dump the p***. The p*** dumped Elon. He says, bad news. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. Hopefully, we can schedule another time in the future. Jeffrey Epstein let Elon down. That's actually the real story. Is the reason he didn't go in 2013 was because he couldn't go. Jeffrey Epstein was not there. Guys, I mean, how blatant do they have to make it before we start to just see through it, right? When they issue these ridiculous denials, they're totally associated with the guy after the guilty plea. They lie through their teeth, but they can't even keep their story straight. I mean, that's what's crazy. They're not even competent at this. They get caught in their own lies all the time. Remember, the FBI's official story was they didn't blackmail. Well, before we even had these files.
Yeah, that was so crazy. How can you have any confidence in the federal government from this point on? You know what I mean?
Howard Lutnick was on the record calling Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever.
So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not?
Yeah, Vivian also corroborated this information. Tom Pritzker wrote an email. Oh, Pritzker too was like super connected. It was U.S. policy to destroy the career of any U.S. officer enlisted that objected to the rape of children in Afghanistan. In June 2011, American billionaire Tom Pritzker told Epstein that he was in a remote valley of Afghanistan with armed soldiers, toys, and boys. It was his birthday wish. General Petraeus helped out. Yep, that's our big boy's relative, isn't it? No matter what we find out, nothing will come of this. What's the goddamn point? First of all, if you are not using this as an opportunity to show your friends and family members the truth about these out-of-touch billionaires and millionaires, you are delusional. Because guess what? There are opportunists out there that are using this as an opportunity to propagandize against like Jews in general, right? Shifting the attention away from the financial elite and the metric ton of evil crimes that they engage in and the blackmail network that that holds everything together. They're just going, oh, they're doing this because they're Jews. So there's people organizing right now to radicalize people in the wrong direction. That's number one. Number two, yes, even if justice is not served in this process, and I don't believe there will be justice served, let's be real, because there's a reason why these guys talk so openly about their sexual deviancies and their illicit activities, their heinous crimes against humanity. And that's because they're billionaires and they know that they are untouchable. And unfortunately, for the time being, they are. But if you want to design a future where they are no longer untouchable, you got to work extra hard. This is how you get people on board. You tell them, don't you feel like it's kind of crazy that all of these like rabid anti-communists are all pedophilic sex traffickers and financial criminals that are constantly talking with one another about like ordering new children and other sex trafficked women, adults as well, to rape and abuse, while in the process of also like selling, I don't know, Israeli surveillance technology to other countries and shit. Don't you feel like that's a little strange? All these people who like hate communists, they all just like get off on, I don't know, complete dominance and also pedophilia. I mean, seriously, if there's one group that's like virtually untouched, unscathed in this, it's like Marxist Leninists for the most part. Sure, he met with Fidel Castro one time. That's it. I mean, let's be real. That's straight up. Because people will be like, there's no Muslims on the Epstein files. Bitch, of course there's a ton of Muslims on the Epstein files. What are you talking about? The fucking UAE is all up and down. UAE is Epstein's major partner beyond Israel. MBS is on there too. I think even the Qataris to a certain degree are involved. There's hella Muslims on the Epstein files, big dog. Everybody's on it because Epstein is a representation of American hegemony. Yes, I said ML specifically because Chomsky is not a fucking Marxist-Leninist. As a matter of fact, he's like my first, the first break-off point for me with Chomsky was his criticisms of Lenin. If you've ever listened to Chomsky speak on Lenin, you already probably feel a certain type of way. I have, at least.
See what you saw, or did they see it and ignore it, or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was. You know, get a massage, and what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Interesting. Okay, so Howard has a different perspective. Now, if you don't know, that guy, do you think he's...
Bro, he's so slimy. Oh my God. Howard Butlick is so... What a slime bag. Remember 9/11, okay? This guy literally farmed his own company to get a fat 9/11 payout, okay? He successfully sued the airliners and was able to get a ginormous payout. And then he did not distribute the funds evenly to the victims and instead took over by majority share, took over the trial awards and pocketed it. Is the stream crashing? Is bro glitching? Wait, what's happening? There have been new recordings of Epstein talking to Ehud Yarak. Ehud Yarak. Oh, that's awesome. That's a Turkish chatter. Saying Ehud Yarak is so funny. Is it Ehud Barak? Yarak means penis in Turkish, but like a very vulgar way to say cock. And it also happens to sound like Barak. There have been new recordings of Epstein talking to Ehud Yarak. Epstein is giving him details about high-value, high-influential people in America. It sounds like Yarak is trying to make sense of it and even trying to write down their names. Yeah, I know. We're going to cover that in a little bit. All right, let's continue with this.
The truth there, even this guy who's contradicting the official narrative, this guy literally lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy who's like, I'm going to tell the truth. Those guys participated. That guy lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, he lied too. He made this rude, lewd comment in front of my wife. I would never go see this guy. I mean, he makes it super clear he's gross.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
These other guys, they may have participated.
They participated.
But Howard Lutnick, he could never. No. He's too good of a guy. Well, guess what we found in the old emails? Looky. It's Howard Lutnick writing in to Jeffy Boy in 2012. Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early afternoon, planning to head over. Where are you located? What's the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? Is this the guy you said made a lewd comment to your wife and, oh, I could never be in front of him. He's gross. Guess what the next email is? My boy's wife messaging in, saying we're headed towards you in St. Thomas. Later, the subject line, Jeffrey Epstein. Good morning, Howard. Jeffrey wished me to pass you along. Nice seeing you. They clearly met, and the guy is just lying about it to your face, to the American public's face, and they tried to hide it from us. I cannot emphasize this enough. They're lying through their teeth. You think this guy perfectly remembers a
Have you seen that dumbass theory on X that Mamdani's Epstein's son? Jeffrey Epstein is like, I'm a self-described liberal billionaire who routinely collaborates with neo-Nazis and fascists. I love the liberal world order. I love Steven Pinker. I love basically every major donor to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I love the duopoly. I love bourgeois capitalism. I love bourgeois democracy. I hate the dictatorship of the proletariat. I hate communism. I think all communists should be dead. And then after all is said and done, you got right-wingers being like, that's Zoran. Here's the AI photo of Zoran. Here's the AI photo of Zoran. I believe it now. You see? See, Jeffrey Epstein was Judeo-communist. And then they're like, oh, there's a photo of him with Fidel Castro. You have to be the dumbest person on the planet. It's like Yanis Varoufakis told me that his name was mentioned as well in the Epstein files. They were reading and sharing a lot of materials that they were reading with one another. Just because someone has had limited contact at some point doesn't make it the same. If you want to yell about someone, yell about... If you want to yell about someone, yell about Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky was a whole-ass pedophilia advocate. My man was manufacturing the age of consent. That was the consent he was manufacturing. I'm sorry. I think Noam Chomsky's writings are very important. I still think Manufacturing Consent is a great work. But let's be real. My man was a libertarian socialist. That's just the case. There's a difference between someone who is supposed to be my ideological ally and me openly recognizing that they were engaging in a ridiculous, extensive, quite intimate relationship with an international sex trafficker for both Mossad and the CIA, versus like a one-off that Zoran's famous director mom, as a part of like the New York elite, went to a party that Jeffrey Epstein also was at. And then to expand on that, to be like, well, very clearly Zoran's mom is like deeply involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And not only that, but Zoran himself is deeply involved with Jeffrey Epstein. You're a fucking idiot. Jeffrey Epstein was basically butt-fucking Donald Trump. And you're over here being like, but what about Zoran? I imagine that Zoran was also a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. You know? The f***? Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein are taking turns f***ing Trump in a sex dungeon somewhere. And these guys are like, don't look at that. 7,000 emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak being like, I love doing espionage for the glorious state of Israel. We should sell more surveillance technology to Mongolia. We should sell more Israeli surveillance technology to Kazakhstan. I love doing espionage for the Mossad. You are my best friend, Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. I love doing Mossad activities. And people are like, don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. That stuff is irrelevant. It's negligible. Focus on made up shit that I made up with my mind. And it's the same thing with like the Pizzagate losers. What are you saying? Or the I hate Goyim too. It's like so stupid. Yes, dude, he was a fucking Jewish supremacist. How is this shocking to you? He was a sociopathic monster. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this is yet another tendency of people looking at like not the in-group. If Jeffrey Epstein is a white Christian and he's talking about this, you know that doesn't reflect on all fucking white Christians. But because Jeffrey Epstein is Jewish and talking about Jewish supremacy, you think like, oh, well, all Jews are doing that. All Jews are Judeo-supremacists. It's not the case. I have no interest in defending this shit. Focus up. Focus on the actual problems here. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein is a Jewish supremacist. Wow, shocking revelation. He's also an international sex trafficker that was blackmailing the financial elite at the behest of Mossad and the CIA. Hello? Are you stupid? Do you have a brain issue that this is like, you think this is the largest revelation here? This is the anti-Semitism we were talking about for months to have come as a product of Israel, mind everyone? I know. That's what's so frustrating. People that think like the major takeaway here is that like all Jews are up to no good are stupid, okay? Focus on the real problem. Israel is the real problem. You're a fucking moron, dude. I don't give a fuck what someone's background is, okay? I don't give a fuck what someone's ethnicity is. I don't give a fuck what someone's religion is. I care about their perspective. I care about their advocacy. I care about what they're defending. Israel is indefensible. It doesn't matter to me if it's a Jewish person defending Israel, if it's a Christian person defending Israel. Eddie Liger is correct, Mr. ACP. The Fidel Castro thing is like completely ridiculous. He did not have an extensive relationship, as far as we know, with Jeffrey Epstein. And what we do know is that Jeffrey Epstein actually saw Fidel Castro as a hurdle against his goals in Cuba. Fidel Castro died. Now a lot of possibilities. Fidel Castro died. Now a lot of possibilities for me, Epstein wrote in a 2016 email the same month Castro passed. Also, he was a rabid anti-communist. He celebrated the fall of the USSR. And of course he celebrated the fall of the USSR because there was a lot of sex trafficking of young girls and young boys in the aftermath of the fall of the dissolution of the USSR. And I suspect that these guys also took advantage of that as well. So, anyway. Before the Cuban Revolution, Havana was full of brothels that were frequented by Western financiers. What does not exist in the leaks is evidence of correspondence or relationship between Castro and Epstein. If it did exist, you can bet the Trump admin would have released it immediately for political purposes. The ruling capitalist elite always want to pin its crimes on communists, but in reality, socialism has historically been the strongest barrier to elite trafficking networks. Just Barack Obama's White House counsel giving Jeffrey Epstein advice on how to answer questions about Donald Trump having sex with a girl at his house, allegedly. I knew Epstein professionally and has always had positive dealings with him. I don't know about his personal legal issues. Other than that, I have read in the public reports and therefore don't have any comment. Trump is likely to be based questions soon about me. In an ideal world, what do you think he would and could say? Supposedly, a girl said that Donald had sex with her at my house when she was underage. She said she had a witness in 1993. Pottinger story, 2 weeks ago. McGiver said that Pottinger wanted to meet him. I emailed back, do not meet. You are not involved. Yesterday, what is this? MacGyver? Oh, God, this guy was so stupid, dude. I mean, he could not fucking spell for shit. He was just letting the keyboard sing, man. He did not care about what the output looked like. He was just like, yeah, whatever, close enough. Yesterday, MacGyver sent me, Pottinger worked his way into my office to tell C2 me that very annoyed I called and got his feelings, me the above. Yeah, we already talked about this, but Elon Musk's daughter, Vivian, friend of the show, confirmed the St. Bart's trip. Admittedly, I was first dumb enough to think he actually meant hanging out with young diplomats. Lol, lol, lol. However, after he clarified that he meant to party with young women under age of 25, I still chose to work on rockets and cars. Oh, I'm such a nerd. Rock solid. I honestly believe that Elon was too autistic to understand the signals he was being given and genuinely thought it was a fun party with tennis and snorkeling. Yeah. I just wanted to totally go to a party. Oh, yeah. Comedy is legal, dude.
2005, like walking in the guy's house, I remember exactly what I said to him. My wife and I looked at each other, and he wouldn't remember the 2012. I boated over to his private island for a dinner. Is that what we're really thinking? Is that what we're expected to believe? This is a momentary lapse in his judgment. No, these guys don't even care about being consistent, and they're all throwing each other under the bus. Don't you remember Elon Musk saying the time to drop the really big bomb? Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. My guy, you also are in the Epstein files. Very clear.
Yeah, that's why he knew it. He's like, yeah, I saw him at the party, at the kid party. I was there. Totally. Make America great. Dark MAGA.
Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some of the most explosive stuff. It's also, again, I have to say, unverified, okay? This is the NTOC, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. And the challenge with confirming some of this is that these are anonymous tips, or they black them out at least, so we don't know who they are, and anyone can drop a tip. Now, that doesn't mean that you should disregard them. It just means we can't verify them. The other challenge is that the FBI has a heavy incentive to discredit anything with Donald Trump in it, just because he's in the White House right now, obviously. And so I want to be clear, there are notes related to some of these submissions where they say things like complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate redacted. You know, it's hard to tell how much this is the proper due diligence of the FBI, which they should be doing, of course, and not all complaints are credible.
What if Q from QAnon was originally Epstein? I mean, that's more believable than anything else. Oh, yeah, now they're cooking with gas. What is this update on Peter Attia situation? We're hearing here there's a battle royale between Paramount Corporate and CBS News' Barry Weiss. She does not want to cut ties with Attia and sees it as a giving in to the mob. Paramount sees it an HR matter and that Attia can't give expert advice. CBS News is expected to cut ties with Peter Attia over Epstein links just days after Barry Weiss announced them. Oh, my God, that's the other thing. Because Jeffrey Epstein is so heavily connected to the pro-Israel crowd, that, you know, Barry Weiss being an agent of Israel herself, acting in the capacity of as an agent of Israel, has understandably hired so many Jeffrey Epstein affiliates. Yeah, you blew it again, Barry. God, you can't get anything right. Bovine Barry.
Oh, there's this obvious conflict of interest with the fact that the sitting president is in some of these complaints. But here they are for what it's worth. Complaint summary. Blank reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform.
Oh, DOJ has killed that link since then, by the way. Now, the reason why they killed that link, or I will admit, some of the stuff in there, because this is a comprehensive investigation, is going to be like crazy ramblings. And some of the complaints are from non-credible witnesses, or not witnesses, but like non-credible actors. And you have to parse through what's credible, what's a credible allegation, and what's a non-credible allegation. This is a FBI tip line. Some of the things that people are saying in the FBI tip line are just fake. You have to be an adult about this. Like, I don't think George H.W. Bush ate the intestines of a small baby and ate the fecal matter of the intestines. Like, I think that's not credible, okay? And even in the FBI complaint summary, there's some stuff that they bring up that are from non-credible, like there are non-credible allegations here. Some of them are credible, though. This doesn't mean that like Donald Trump didn't do any sexual assaults. Of course he did. We know that he did. A civil court found him liable. And not only that, but also his ex-wife.
Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing. Friend was allegedly hit in the face after
the tip lines categorize their tips by credibility. Why would they put non-credible accounts in the files? They literally have non-credible accounts in these files. They openly say some of these accounts are non-credible. What are you talking about? You didn't do the reading. You didn't do the reading.
Laughed about biting President Trump. The friend also said she was abused by Epstein. Later, there's very explosive claims about big parties with her, other younger girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. There's claims third hand about a female victim of Epstein's who wants to publish a book citing Leslie Wexner, Epstein, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell is in the videos as well. And it goes on like this for a while. Some of the complaints are just like very graphic, and obviously I'm gonna censor out some of it. But I should also mention the DOJ claims that some of these claims were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had any shred of credibility, they would have certainly been weaponized against President Trump already. Now, I agree that if a complaint is timed right before an election, there definitely could be some other motivations to that. But it's also ridiculous to say that anything in the Epstein files, if it were true, would have come out already. Because why didn't we see the stuff about Bill Gates, for example? I mean, that stuff apparently has been sitting in here for a long time. And not only did no one talk about it, the FBI literally covered for it. I mean, they said that this was not the case. There are big claims against a lot of powerful people. Nobody in that file really wants to rock the boat or release.
On this topic, did we cover pizza being references? Ironically possible the calls coming from inside the house regarding Pizzagate? No, I don't think they're referencing pizza when they... I don't think the Pizzagate pizza references were actually child pornography or children. I think that when these guys, if anything, after seeing like millions of pages of the Jeffrey Epstein investigations, we found out without a shred of a doubt that when they talk about children, when they talk about raping children, they say it. When they talk about pizza, it's most likely about pizza. I don't understand why you think in the overwhelming majority of instances, they're just straight up talking about prostitutes and prostitution, but then randomly they switch it over to pizza and cheese pizza to imply child pornography when there's literally child pornography in the CSAM, in the files. What are you talking about? Whoever believes this guy is a moron, he literally gets paid by Israel to share pro-Jew propaganda. How does it make you feel that your favorite neo-Nazi that you think is like the most honest defender of the truth is refusing to tie this back to Israel, but instead consistently talks about Jews? Meanwhile, the Israeli state is up my asshole every single day in ways that they never hit Nick Fuentes on. Let's be real. Nick Fuentes talks about being debanked, but the only reason why he had his finances under scrutiny was because he participated in January 6th and he got a fat check from a cryptocurrency guy right before January 6th. He didn't get debanked because of Jews or debanked because of Israel. That's bullshit. I love that you guys think that the guy who's selling Jeffrey Epstein hoodies are actually a serious commentator here, you know, and not actually trying to undermine the severity of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Anyone that looks at the Jeffrey Epstein situation and goes, well, this is how Jews are, is actually a fucking moron. You're an idiot. You're an unproductive, undisciplined moron who doesn't understand that the real problem here is not Jews, it's Israel.
Because then they get in trouble and their buddies get in trouble, and that's a huge problem.
Perhaps a big part of the reason why they're mad is because the guy who made 4chan poll right after meeting Jeffrey Epstein, Moot or whatever his name is, and that the entire anti-Semitic reactionary right movement, this counterculture, supposedly counterculture movement of defending white people, was perhaps also another Mossad conspiracy, and that really hurts their feelings when they hear that. When they hear that this is also that they were being duped into like unproductive mechanisms of thought, methods of thought by potentially a Mossad agent, that really frustrates them, that they've been psyoped. Yeah, Nick Fuentes for the past few weeks. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a pedophile, he was an ephebophile. That's why I'm selling his merchandise. Ephebophilia is based. Nick Fuentes unironically looked at the Jeffrey Epstein situation only a month ago and decided the real crime of Jeffrey Epstein was not that he was an international sex trafficker of minors. That stuff was based. It was that he was Jewish while doing it. And there are still people who sincerely think that this guy has any serious care or consideration for covering these issues. Okay, he just straight up said it. He literally was like, well, you know, he was really cool. Like, you'd be a part of that too if you had the opportunity. Also, I'm selling Jeffrey Epstein merchandise. Jeffrey Epstein is cool as f. That's what he said. Meanwhile, a lot of these liberal outlets are trying to present Jeffrey Epstein as a Russian agent, or they're trying to say, well, he talked about Putin quite a bit. Yeah, bitch, you know who else he talked to directly? Ehud Barak. Liberals and Republicans both are moving away from the Israel connections for some reason. And even the supposedly anti-Israel right, the anti-Semitic anti-Israel right, is also doing the same in their own way. I wonder why. Because there's only one truth here, and anyone that tries to move you away, anyone that tries to deflect your attention away from that one singular truth is f***ing lying to you. That's it. They have an agenda. You can think in your mind that I'm trying to preserve the safety and security of Jews. That's why I'm an op, because I'm not a real anti-Israel agent or whatever. If you want to believe that, you can believe that if you want. But there's a real reason why Israel's agents are way more aggressive in the way that they come after me than they do with Nick Fuentes. That's because I think Nick Fuentes is basically a Fed.